Executive Federal Market Entry Operating Systems, Season 2, Episode 3. Your federal business isn't dead. It may just need a restart.
Welcome back to the Executive Federal Market Entry Operating System. I'm Maya Chen, your Executive Intelligence Officer. And today, I'm sitting down again with John E. Cornish III, founder and CEO of Marshall Davis Medical Logistics, LLC, and creator of the Executive Federal Market Entry Operating System. John, I want to start today's episode with something I suspect a lot of business owners have said privately. Maybe they registered an SAM. Maybe they created a capability statement. Maybe they attended a few government contracting events. Maybe they've even submitted proposals. And after months, or sometimes years of trying, they finally say, you know what? Federal contracting just isn't working for us. What do you say to that owner?
Before I agree with them, I want to see the system.
Not the proposals?
Not yet.
Not their certifications?
Not yet.
Not even their SAM registration?
I'll get there. But first I want to know something much bigger. How exactly have you been operating? Because there's a difference between participating in federal contracting activities and actually building a federal business.
That's an important distinction, because an owner may look back and say, I've been doing this for 3 years. But what they've really been doing for 3 years might be a collection of unrelated activities.
Exactly. Maybe they registered. Then 6 months later, they went to a matchmaking event. Then somebody told them they needed a capability statement. Then they started getting opportunity emails. Then they submitted a proposal. Then they joined a webinar. Then they changed their NAICS codes. Then somebody told them to get certified. Then they waited. That's motion. But where's the operating system? Where is the process connecting all of those activities? Where is the positioning? Where is the market intelligence? Where is the visibility? Where is the relationship strategy? Where is the weekly execution rhythm? That's what I want to see.
So today's episode isn't really about telling somebody to work harder.
Absolutely not. Some of these owners are already working incredibly hard. The problem may be that the work isn't connected. And that's what we're talking about today. How the Federal Market Entry Operating System can help jumpstart a company that's entering the market for the first time or restart a federal strategy that's stalled somewhere along the way.
Let's build the first scenario. Give me a company.
All right. Let's say we have a commercial company that's been operating for 12 years, 25 employees, good commercial customers, strong reputation, real revenue, real capability. The CEO decides we're ready to pursue federal business. So they do what almost everyone tells them to do. They register an SAM.
Which is important.
Of course, but then something interesting happens. They finish the registration and wait.
For the government to find them.
Exactly. And after 3 months, they start wondering why nobody called. So now they make a capability statement. It lists 12 services, 9 NAICS codes, every certification they have, their logo, their contact information, and a paragraph that says they're committed to excellence, integrity, customer service, and innovative solutions.
Which probably sounds familiar to a lot of companies.
Very familiar. Then they start searching solicitations. Construction one day, administrative support the next day, a technology requirement the following week. Something else because the NAICS code looked close enough. Now 12 months have passed. They've registered, they've searched, they've downloaded opportunities. Maybe they've even responded to a couple, but they still haven't really entered a market.
And that's where I think the frustration becomes dangerous. Because from the business owner's perspective, they've done what they were told. They may start concluding that the federal marketplace doesn't want them, when the bigger issue may be that the marketplace still doesn't know exactly where to place them.
That's it. Nothing may be wrong with the company. The company could be excellent. But look at the federal identity we've built. The website still speaks almost entirely to the commercial market. The CEO's LinkedIn profile says entrepreneur, business leader, founder. The capability statement tries to cover everything. The NAICS codes aren't prioritized. There are no target agencies, no target prime contractors, no supplier registrations, no federal content strategy, no relationship map, no opportunity selection criteria. So what exactly is the market supposed to understand?
In other words, the business is legitimate, but the federal positioning is almost invisible.
Exactly. And that's where the operating system comes in. We don't necessarily need to change the business. We need to organize the business for the market it's entering.
Walk me through that.
First, we identify the company's strongest federal market capability lanes. Not everything the company has ever done. What are the 2 or 3 areas where the company has the strongest combination of experience, capacity, credibility, and market demand? Then we align the NAICS architecture. Then the website begins telling that story. The executive LinkedIn profile begins telling that story. The capability statement begins telling that story. The supplier registrations reinforce that story. The content strategy reinforces that story. And then we begin identifying the agencies and prime contractors already operating in that ecosystem.
So the change is not, let's make the company look federal. The change is, let's make the company's actual value understandable inside the federal marketplace.
Exactly. That's a very important distinction. We are not manufacturing experience. We're not pretending the company has federal past performance it doesn't have. We're organizing legitimate commercial capability into a coherent federal market position. And once those pieces begin lining up, the company that looked invisible 90 days ago can begin looking intentional.
Let's move to the second scenario. This company is a little further along. They've been trying for maybe 2 years. They are actively searching opportunities. They've submitted proposals. Nothing has converted into meaningful revenue. What do you see?
I see this all the time. The owner has basically turned federal business development into a scavenger hunt. Every morning, what's open? What's due? What can we bid? And I'm not saying you shouldn't monitor solicitations. Of course you should. But if that's the entire strategy, you become dependent on whatever happens to appear in front of you.
So instead of choosing a market, the opportunity feed chooses the market for you.
Exactly. Monday, you're interested in the Department of Defense. Tuesday, it's Veterans Affairs. Wednesday, a civilian agency posts something that sounds vaguely relevant. Thursday, somebody forwards you an opportunity from another state. Friday, you're writing a proposal for work you hadn't even thought about 5 days earlier. That isn't capture strategy. That's reaction.
And I imagine it creates another problem. Even if they don't win, they've spent real executive time evaluating, researching, and responding to opportunities that may never have been strategically connected to the business in the first place.
Correct. That's why one of the questions inside the operating system is, who already buys what you do? Then, who already wins that work? Then, where does your capability fit inside that execution environment? Those questions immediately change the way you look at the market.
Give me a scenario.
Let's say you own a logistics company. You've been searching transportation solicitations for 2 years. Instead of beginning with another solicitation, let's identify major federal programs involving transportation, contingency distribution, medical logistics, emergency support, or whatever your real lane happens to be. Now identify the prime contractors winning those programs. Who are they? Where are they performing? How do they register suppliers? Do they have small business programs? Where might they need regional coverage? Where might they need surge capacity? Where could your company reduce execution friction? Now we're building intelligence.
And that's a very different posture from emailing a prime contractor saying, "Hi, we're a small business and we'd love to partner."
Completely different. Because now I may be able to say, we've been following this program. We understand the performance footprint. Our company has a specific capability that could support this piece of execution. Now, I'm not asking them to figure out my value. I'm beginning to define it.
So for the company that thinks federal contracting has failed them, you might discover they haven't actually been failing at federal contracting. They've been repeatedly entering competitions without first developing a market position.
That's exactly right. And I'm very careful about promising outcomes. An operating system does not guarantee an award. Nobody can responsibly guarantee that. What it does is dramatically improve the quality of the questions you're asking. It helps you stop confusing activity with strategy.
Let's do another one. Because episode 2 was all about visibility. Let's say I own a very successful commercial company. $5 million in revenue, 20 employees, great customers, good reputation. But somebody researching me online wouldn't necessarily understand that.
Perfect example. Your website says you provide management consulting. Your LinkedIn profile mostly talks about entrepreneurship and leadership. Your SAM profile emphasizes information technology. Your capability statement talks about staffing, logistics, training, consulting, cybersecurity, and administrative support.
So every individual piece may technically be true, but together, they create a company nobody can define.
Exactly. And here's the problem. You know your business deeply. The person researching you doesn't. They may give you 30 seconds, maybe less. And now you're forcing them to reconcile 5 different versions of the company.
Which means the stronger the company actually is, the more frustrating that disconnect becomes. Because the owner may be thinking, we have the people, we have the systems, we have the customers, we know what we're doing. But none of that matters if the market can't quickly understand how those capabilities translate into a federal need.
That's why I keep saying this. The operating system doesn't necessarily change the company. It organizes the company's story. And once that story is organized, we create consistency. Website, LinkedIn, capability statement, NAICS, supplier profiles, executive outreach, content, all pointing in the same direction.
So now, when somebody discovers the company through a LinkedIn post, then visits the CEO's profile, then visits the website, then opens the capability statement, they're not learning something completely different at every stop. They're receiving confirmation.
Exactly. And confirmation builds confidence. That's how digital positioning begins working like an ecosystem instead of a collection of unrelated assets.
I want to spend some time on the fourth scenario.
Because I think this one is different. This isn't somebody who's confused. This is somebody who's tired. They registered 3 years ago. Maybe paid a consultant. Maybe got certified. Went to conferences. Attended matchmaking events. Got hundreds of bid alerts. Submitted proposals. Nothing happened. Eventually, they stopped opening the emails. Their SAM registration may still exist, but emotionally, they left the federal market a long time ago. What do you say to that person?
First, I wouldn't tell them to go to another webinar.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't immediately tell them they need another certification. What I want to do is diagnose where the system broke. Because this is where we introduce something I call the federal business restart. There are 4 steps: inventory, diagnose, reposition, activate.
Let's take them one at a time.
Inventory. What do you already have? Do you have an active SAM registration? What NOICS codes are attached to the company? What certifications do you already hold? Do you have a website, LinkedIn, capability statement, commercial past performance, existing relationships, supplier registrations, former outreach, existing proposal material? We don't throw all of that away. We inventory it.
Because somebody may have spent 3 years building assets that are disconnected, not necessarily useless.
Exactly. Then we diagnose. Where is the friction? Maybe the company picked the wrong NAICS lane. Maybe they're chasing work that's too large. Maybe they're trying to prime contracts when they should be entering through subcontracting. Maybe the capability statement is too broad. Maybe their website provides no federal positioning. Maybe they have zero visibility. Maybe nobody has ever identified the right prime contractors. Maybe they are registered in SAM but not registered with the companies actually buying what they do. Maybe they have capability but no relationship strategy.
And I like that, because we're no longer asking, why haven't you won? We're asking, where is the system failing to create traction?
Exactly. Then comes reposition. We make the pieces align. What is the strongest market lane? Who needs it? What should the company be known for? What language should the market associate with the company? Which primes, which agencies, which supplier portals? What needs to change on LinkedIn? What needs to change on the website? What should the capability statement lead with?
And only then do we get to activate?
Correct. Now we begin moving. Targeted supplier registrations, targeted executive outreach, opportunity monitoring, award intelligence, content, relationship development, prime mapping, partner identification, capability alignment. Now, activity has a reason.
That may be one of the most important points we've made this season, because restarting doesn't mean doing everything again. It means figuring out what deserves to be kept, what needs to be corrected, and what needs to be activated differently.
Exactly. Some businesses don't need another year. They need a reset.
So, whether I'm brand new to federal contracting or I've been trying for 3 years, the operating system eventually asks the same questions. Where are you now? What do you already have? What's missing? And what needs to happen next?
Exactly. Because I don't care whether you've been in SAM for 3 days or 3 years. I care whether your company has a functioning federal market entry system. Can I understand your capability? Can I see where you fit? Can I identify the market you're pursuing? Can I identify the buyers? Can I identify the primes? Do you have a visibility strategy? Do you have a relationship strategy? Do you have an opportunity intelligence process? Do you know what happens Monday morning? That's an operating system.
And I think that's where this becomes especially relevant to established companies. Because an established business owner doesn't necessarily need another introduction to entrepreneurship. They already know how to run a company. What they may need is a translation layer between the successful business they already built and the federal marketplace they're trying to enter.
That's exactly the audience. We're not telling established executives how to run their businesses. We're helping them understand how to position, organize, and activate those businesses inside a different buying environment. Federal contracting has its own language, its own buying patterns, its own relationships, its own information sources, its own procurement architecture. The operating system gives the executive a framework for navigating that environment without pretending they need to become a contracting officer.
Let's finish today differently. No traditional homework assignment. Let's give the listener a diagnostic.
I like that. Here are 5 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly. Question 1, if a federal buyer or prime contractor discovers your company today, can they understand within 30 seconds what you do and where you fit?
Question 2. Can you identify the 2 or 3 federal market capability lanes you genuinely want your company associated with? Not 15. 2 or 3.
Question 3. Can you name 5 prime contractors or federal buying organizations already operating in markets where your capability could logically support execution?
Question 4. Can you explain, in 1 or 2 sentences, the specific problem your company solves for those organizations? Not, we're a great small business. What problem do you solve?
And question 5. Do you have a repeatable weekly process for visibility, market intelligence, relationship development, supplier engagement, and opportunity review?
And if the answer to 3 or more of those questions is no,
then I want you to consider something. You may not have a federal contracting problem. You may have an operating system problem.
and that's actually good news, because an operating system can be rebuilt.
Absolutely. You may not need to abandon the federal marketplace. You may not need to throw away everything you've already built. And you certainly don't need to pretend the last 3 years didn't happen. Inventory what you have. Diagnose what's missing. Reposition the company. Activate the right pieces. Then move again, with purpose.
So if you're brand new, this system can help you enter with structure. And if you've been trying for years, it can help you determine whether it's time to restart differently.
Exactly, because federal business development should not feel like randomly throwing opportunities against the wall and hoping one sticks. We're going to build intelligence. We're going to build visibility. We're going to build positioning. We're going to build relationships. And we're going to build a repeatable system around all of it.
I'm Maya Chen.
And I'm John E. Cornish III.
This is the Executive Federal Market Entry Operating System.
And if your federal strategy has stalled, don't automatically assume the business is dead. It may simply be time to restart the system.
We'll see you in Episode 4.